remember. Was there a time when this man stroked my hair and kissed my forehead? Had he loved me before I'd forgotten, when I'd been whole and unbroken? I wished there was someone I could ask, or at least someone who could give me answers. Forgive me. I bowed my head. My black hair formed a curtain over my eyes, and I stole a glance at the key. Most of the doors in the palace were locked. He hobbled from room to room, using his bone shard magic to create miracles. A magic I needed if I was to rule. I'd earned 6 keys. My father's foster, Bayan, had 7. Sometimes it felt as if my entire life was a test.
"Fine,"
Father said. He eased back into his chair.
"You may go."
I rose to leave, but hesitated. When will you teach me your bone shard magic? I didn't wait for his response. You say you can name Bayan as your heir, but you haven't. I am still your heir, and I need to know how to control the constructs. I'm 23, and you... I stopped, because I didn't know how old he was. There were liver spots on the backs of his hands, and his hair was steely gray. I didn't know how much longer he would live. All I could imagine was a future where he died and left me with no knowledge. No way to protect the Empire from the Ilonga. No memories of a father who cared. He coughed, muffling the sound with his sleeve. His gaze flicked to the key, and his voice went soft.
"When you are a whole person," he said.
I didn't understand him, but I recognized the vulnerability. Please, I said, what if I am never a whole person? He looked at me, and the sadness in his gaze scraped at my heart like teeth. I had 5 years of memories. Before that was a fog. I'd lost something precious, if only I knew what it was. Father, A knock sounded at the door, and he was cold as stone once more. Bayan slipped inside without waiting for a response, and I wanted to curse him. He hunched his shoulders as he walked, his footfalls silent. If he were anyone else, I'd think his step hesitant. But Bayan had the look of a cat about him, deliberate, predatory. He wore a leather apron over his tunic, and blood stained his hands. I've completed the modification, Bayan said. You asked me to see you right away when I'd finished. A construct hobbled behind him, tiny hooves clicking against the floor. It looked like a deer, except for the fangs protruding from its mouth and the curling monkey's tail. 2 small wings sprouted from its shoulders, blood staining the fur around them. Father turned in his chair and placed a hand on the creature's back. It looked up at him with wide, wet eyes.
"Sloppy," he
says.
"How many shards did you use to embed the follow command?"
2, Bayan said. 1 to get the construct to follow me, and another to get it to stop.
"It should be 1, Father said. "It goes where you do, unless you tell it not to. The language is in the first book I gave you."
He seized one of the wings and pulled it. When he let it go, it settled slowly back at the construct's side.
"Your construction, however, is excellent."
Bayan's eyes slid to the side, and I held his gaze. Neither of us looked away. Always a competition. Bayan's irises were blacker even than mine, and when his lip curled, it only accentuated the full curve of his mouth. I supposed he was prettier than I would ever be, but I was convinced I was smarter, and that's what really mattered. Bayan never cared to hide his feelings. He carried his contempt for me like a child's favorite seashell.
"Try again with a new construct,"
Father said, and Bayan broke his gaze from mine. I'd won this small contest. Father reached his fingers into the beast. I held my breath. I'd only seen him do this twice. Twice I could remember, at least. The creature only blinked placidly as Father's hand disappeared to the wrist. And then he pulled away, and the construct froze, still as a statue. In his hands were 2 small shards of bone.